I don't know what's more confusing, learning astrology or just being a human. Moonday Musings is here to help with that. A weekly, no bullshit guide for the upcoming cosmic forecast and how you can actually use this in your real life. Hello, neighbor. Happy Monday and happy Moon Day, my friend. Welcome to another episode of Moonday Musings, and welcome to our first official episode in the new studio. Oh, this is really exciting. I have wanted, a cozy, witchy, on-brand little space where we could create and talk magic together for quite some time. Now, make no mistake, we've been creating and talking about lots of magic over these last 3.5 years. Oh my Lord. No, 4.5 years. Oh my God. How crazy is that? We've been doing that witch podcast for a while, my friends. We've created and talked about lots of magic, but every creator has a different situation. If you don't know what I'm talking about right now and you're like, what, Danny, on earth are you talking about? You're probably listening to this episode and not watching the video of this episode. So if you are and you're curious, even if you don't normally listen or watch on YouTube, you should go check out the episode on YouTube because I've got a new recording studio that we're talking together in. That's what I'm talking about. But every creator is different. Everyone has a different lifestyle and all these different factors that add up to, where you're able to record and the aesthetic of the backdrop behind you. And I want to make one thing perfectly clear. We have built a strong ass foundation of a neighborhood on content alone, on just showing up and talking with each other. We first started that witch podcast together in my basement. You guys, before I moved out of Colorado, we used to hang out in the basement of our original house. Then we moved halfway across the country up here to New England. And as we were settling into the house, hands down, the best place for me to record was in our guest room at the time. Well, not really our guest room. It was our guest room / my husband's office, simply because of sound factors, quite honestly. And this room that I'm in used to be very, very empty and very, very echoey. And over time, we have slowly added little bits and pieces here and there. And myself and the production team, aka my husband Jared and our lovely Jenny SRP, both of whom come together and help me edit and put together all of our episodes. Pretty confident that sound quality should still be really, really excellent in this space that I'm recording. But we're trying it out. We'll see. We'll certainly see if we need to tweak or adjust anything. We're gonna, YouTube-wise, we'll be messing around with lighting a little bit. We'll be updating the backdrop here. It's a little bit of a work in progress, but it's certainly off to a very good start, wouldn't you say? I'm super, super proud of it. And I welcome to a small portion of our at-home library here. So I don't know. This might seem like a small thing to some folks, but this is a really, really big deal. It's something that I have had to be really patient about for a while. And I want you to know that, especially if you are a creator yourself or an inspiring creator or podcast host or aspiring YouTuber, anything like that, the aesthetic of your home or wherever you're recording, it's not that it does or doesn't matter. It can add to your energy. Absolutely. And then of course it can add to the visual aesthetic of any of your visual content. But I'm really proud of the fact that we built our entire neighborhood together on the meat and potatoes alone, on the discussions that we've had alone. That's really what we've been about all the way up until this point. And you know what the truth is, I'm a slow burn kind of gal. You know, I have a midheaven in Taurus. When it comes to my career choices, I can be really, really patient and really practical. And this is one of those cases where that totally pays off. So I'm really, really excited about this. So again, if you don't already watch on YouTube, or if you're just curious, go over to the video, come check out the new digs. I'm super, super excited. Grab yourself a nice cozy cup of something or other. Mine's coffee today. And let's reflect on October 2025 together, shall we? So if you've never been here before, and this is your very first episode of That Witch Podcast and Moonday Musings, hi, welcome, my friend. I'm Danny. I'm that witch next door. I'm going to be your host, your guide, your mentor, your instructor, your spiritual bestie in all things modern witchcraft and cosmic living. Here on Moonday Musings, on the last Moonday of the month, we reflect back on this month's events for ourselves. And we pull from that the gratitude, all the beautiful golden nuggets that we're taking from the month and carrying forward with us into the next month. So this episode is dropping on Monday, October 27th. And that means we are like in the window, we're right in that portal. We are coming upon Samhain and All Hallows Eve and Halloween. Very, very magical, deep, like really, really deep time. I find that this is a time that witches and non-witches alike just feel something and feel the magic. So I love the timing of the last moon day of the month for us, and that we still have a few days left to go in October with each other, because something that is exceedingly valuable to take with you into your Samhain rituals and celebrations is gratitude, my friend. So there are lots of ways to intentionally reflect back on this past month. Of course, you can just kind of sit and think back to this October, through this October. But there are lots of different kind of cues you can give your memory, different bits and pieces of data that you've been creating and collecting of yourself over this past month. Go back and look at your calendars and your planners. Look at what events you had planned, appointments that you had. What were you able to swing and complete and go to? What had to get changed or rescheduled or dropped altogether, etc. Taking a look back through your calendars can be this really, really telling way of how you spent a lot of your time on a very kind of surface level. You can take that a little bit deeper by going and looking at any habit trackers that you utilize on any of your devices. There are many of them out there, but if you do use any type of tracker, habit tracker, take a look back at what this month looked like for you. That might be on your smartwatch. That might be in just a different type of app that you use that tracks different types of choices and habits and decisions and behaviors. But go take a look at what October looked like. And you can even kind of cross-reference and compare and contrast a little bit with months prior to that. Now, something else you can do to start getting a little more personal, a little more into the emotional realm with it is going back through your photos that you took throughout the month, or photos that were shared with you. You can even go back through some of your social media history. So if you use Instagram, TikTok, etc., there usually is a place that shows your activity, things that you liked or your viewing activity. You can go look back through that. I want to offer that last one with a little bit of a grain of salt, because sometimes going back through our social media history can be really telling. And sometimes it can be, anywhere from very telling to borderline, if not full on triggering. So, take that one with a grain of salt, but it still can kind of tell you a little bit about what this last month's been like for you. Oh yeah, this, I was really, my feed was showing me a lot of, fun this last month, or my feed was showing me a lot of coziness this month, or I was really drawn to the coziness, or I really watched recipe videos more than usual this month, whatever it is. But again, depending on social media and your relationship to it, that can be a helpful reflection, and it might be one that you can just toss to the side altogether. Something else that I like to go back and look through are my journal entries. That is definitely a really, really handy way of taking yourself back through this month through your POV. And it's really, really interesting going back with hindsight and knowing now what you didn't know then, but reading what you were writing when you were so fresh and current and present in that moment while you were in that journal entry. So that also can be really helpful. And then, of course, we have our monthly financial reflection reminder. I always like to remind you on the last moon day of the month that if you haven't already, this is your monthly reminder to go back and look at your financial decisions and habits for this past month as well. It is really beneficial to look at your financial habits and decisions at least a couple of times a month. But if you're working up to that, starting off with like a monthly date of doing that can be really, really helpful. And, all of us have a very, very different relationship with finances and with money. Try to make your financial reflection as either neutral, if not a little bit positive as possible, and make it a reflection that you're looking forward to. Or simply, in my opinion, I think the best thing to do is to make your financial reflection as normal and regular for you as the rest of our suggestions here, like going back through your calendar, going back through your photos, your journal, etc. You don't have to make a big deal about the finances either way. I find that that's the best way to kind of program or reprogram your nervous system to be a little more calm when it comes to finances, because reflecting on our finances can be a really, really anxiety-ridden process for some of us. And so I always like to give those tips and that validation out there to anybody that does struggle with that part. But it is still important to do it, my friend. Don't skip it. This is your gentle reminder that we're all doing it together. We're all taking a look at that so that we can move into November nice and informed. That's the whole purpose of our intentional reflection, so that we are not going into our next month and next chapter blindsided or maybe with blinders on, right? Like kind of having tunnel vision for ourselves, and instead walking into it with our past experience, right there, comfy and cozy in our knowledge, in our awareness, not consuming us. Our past experience not completely driving and commanding the ship, but informing us of this data so that we are making those informed decisions moving forward. And then, of course, really helpful way to look back and reflect is going back through our astrology of this past month. I will run us through kind of our main highlights that we went through together at the very beginning of the month in October. This is what I love about Moon Day. All of our Moon Day episodes kind of fall into and feed one another. So our first Monday of the month episode is our monthly cosmic overview, and we go through the major transits and major astrology for the month ahead. And I highly recommend listening to that episode and taking notes, either on, regular piece of paper or notes app. Even more helpful, though, directly in your calendar or planner, and simply making note of any transits that we talk about, maybe a couple of keywords that stick out to you that help you kind of remember a little bit what we talked about, or what you're kind of starting to associate with that, with those astrological interpretations, even predictions. And that way, when you do that at the beginning of the month, when you get to the end of the month, like we are now, you can go back through that calendar, planner, go back through those notes and go, yes, that's right, that new moon. Yes, that's right, that full moon, etc. It really starts to feed into one another. I have noticed so many of our neighbors get so much more out of our Moon Day Musings episodes now that they started doing that at the beginning of the month. Our first Moon Day of the month and our last Moon Day of the month episodes both have a complimentary journal guide template to kind of help you get the most out of these episodes. So if you don't already have that, I have the information in the show notes of this episode below, and you can download and even print that for free if you would like, or you can simply use it as inspiration to kind of make your own journal template for documenting these episodes, so that really you are using your astrology in your real day-to-day life. That's kind of the whole intention behind it. Now, let's take a look at the astrology for October that we've moved through. So, quick reminder, last month, September, was kind of a freaking month, wasn't it? And it was eclipse season, and what an eclipse season it was. So October, in many ways, started out by feeling like nothing but post-eclipse season, because we were so marred by eclipse season this year. We started our very first Monday, our very first Moon Day of the month in October was with our full moon in Aries. And on that very same day, Mercury also entered into Scorpio. And we have had Mercury in Scorpio this entire time. Very different vibe than Mercury in Libra. Again, if you were listening through last month, if you have any notes or anything like that from last month, you can just kind of think back to September and what you're learning, and integration and communication style looked like. What did your conversation look like? What did your curiosity look like last month? What were you curious about? What were you intrigued by? What were you fascinated by? And how did that compare and contrast a little bit to this month? That might help you decipher even more specific to you what Mercury in Scorpio, how that shows up for you personally. Now, after our full moon in Aries, the following week on Monday the 13th, Pluto stationed direct. It ended its retrograde cycle on the same day that Venus entered into its home sign of Libra. And we talked a little bit about this on that Moon Day of the month, what kind of cool and special and a little bit uplifting energy that could potentially bring us. So I'm very curious what that week kind of looked like for you. Especially what could help is looking at the weeks prior and then looking at these couple of weeks since then and comparing and contrasting if there was any shifts in your mindset. To be even more specific, I would say, is there any differences in what you're valuing and appreciating? I'm very curious. Now, that brings us to last week, Tuesday the 21st. was our Libra new moon. This was our final day in Libra season, right before Scorpio season began. And so this is kind of an interesting parallel of sorts to this previous transit we're talking about the week prior, when Venus entered into Libra. Our Libra new moon could have potentially emphasized some of what we were starting to feel, value, appreciate, desire, feel drawn to once Venus moved into Libra. This Libra new moon could potentially have emphasized some of that, could have altered some of that as well. It all depends on, not only where these transits hit in your chart, but how you express and embody them. I always want to remind you that you have free will, okay? You, my friend, my human friend, you are not a planet in the sky. The planets are reflecting our events and choices and behaviors. We are in the process of co-creating our astrology because we are the expressors and we are the embodiers of it. So there's a reason why a new moon in Libra hits one person this way and hits another person this way. Number one, we're going to see some of those differences in the chart. And number two, we're going to see those differences in how each person expresses and embodies those events and choices. Okay. Now, the following day, last week, on Wednesday, the 22nd, Scorpio season began, which means the sun left the sign of Libra and entered the sign of Scorpio. And on that same day, Neptune, who has been stationed retrograde in Aries, dipped back officially into Pisces, really adding to this watery, magic, dare I say it, even occultic and ethereal conversation. Definitely, in my opinion, drawing us even deeper into the depths. Truly, especially into the depths of magic. Be wary of, getting too drawn into the depths. I kind of thought of the siren a little bit and how the sirens can I think of that with Pisces and Scorpio and Cancer energy and those shadowy depths that water can draw us into. We don't want it to draw us in so far that we drown and lose our footing and lose ourselves, who we are, our humanity, our feet on the ground, right? Drift into those waters and those currents. They can be illuminating, clarifying. They can give us some of our most profound experiences. And they can completely whisk us away when we're not balancing and kind of also really rooting into reality, aka some of our other elements, right? Now, our final major transit that we talked about at the beginning of the month is still upcoming. This Wednesday, the 29th, Mercury ends its chapter in Scorpio and will move into Sagittarius. So I want you to keep an eye on that as well. We looked at, okay, in September, where was I feeling curious, intrigued, fascinated? What did my communication look like? What did my conversations look like? What did the state of my nervous system look like last month compared to this month? And now, knowing that Mercury is moving into its next sign of Sagittarius, and we're also coming upon some Mercury retrograde activity, now we can kind of open our mind and keep some awareness open to what might be drawing our curiosity, fascination, intrigue, how our conversations seem to occur, how they take place over this next month. Again, taking into special consideration that not only is Mercury moving into Sagittarius, we're also going to be having Mercury retrograde next month as well. So we can kind of keep ourselves open to that. So I want you to take a quick moment here. You can even pause this video or this episode, and I want you to give yourself some time to do some intentional reflection. This episode's going to be here. I'm going to be here waiting for you whenever you're ready to get started. But I want you to give yourself the time and space to really intentionally look back so that we can move forward into what we're taking from this past month, what we're leaving behind, what we're most thankful for, and therefore what we're going to carry with us into next month. Okay, now that we've given ourselves some time to reflect back on this past month of October 2025 for ourselves thus far, and we head into a space of gratitude with one another, I want to share with you a little bit what I'm taking away from this month. October is a month for me that is always filled with magic. This is a month that my birthday takes place. So my birthday is on October 30th, so it'll be later this week. And, so I've always had this little personal bias to this month ever since I was a kid. But not just my birthday. I am a massive lover of Halloween. Once again, something that roots far back into childhood as being my favorite holiday celebration. So I already look so forward to this month more than any other all year long. I'm that person in June and July that's looking up the countdown days to October unapologetically. I don't even care. And this one was absolutely no different, and definitely brought me the magic. We, ever since we moved up here, there's been so much more time necessary to really sinking in and settling down than I ever would have thought before. It takes a lot longer, and it takes a lot just more of you than you realize to really lay down new roots, especially if you're trying to lay down permanent roots. It's different when you're laying temporary roots than when you're really intending to get settled and permanent somewhere. And it just takes more time than you realize. This October is our third October that we have been here in New England. So we moved here in May of 2023. And that whole first year is a blur in so many ways. But when I reflect back on these last couple of Octobers, one of my biggest takeaways is being able to really, really see how much we've settled in, how comfortable we are, how much we belong here, how much we have been able to do, how much we've been able to grow, how much we've been able to heal. And that is so much of the gratitude I'm taking with me through the veil of Samhain into November. I am really honoring the past loved ones, ancestors, everything that's led to this point, including past versions of myself and my husband and my daughter and everything that we've been through and everything we've done up until this point. And I'm really, really sitting with those past versions of myself very similarly to how I'm sitting with my past loved ones, with my own personal dead that I honor during this time of year. And I'm really, really honoring those parts and sitting with them like these honored ghosts, these honored ghost guests at my Samhain feast table this year. And it's just really cool. I remember getting here and thinking, oh, it'll be cool when one day we really feel like a part of the neighborhood, like our neighborhood out here, and we start making friends with people and stuff. And here we are, throwing our first Halloween party since moving out here. We've thrown an annual Halloween party every year together for the last 11 years, except for we had to skip the last 2 years since we moved. We had our final Halloween party in our old house in Colorado. And then, our first and second Octobers out here, we didn't throw a party. And this is our first Halloween party since coming back. Isn't that funny? I didn't even mean to say coming back, because obviously we are not from here. That's funny. That's probably a little Freudian past life slip there. But it also feels like a coming back, because throwing a Halloween party is something so sacred to us. It's one of our favorite things to do. And this is the first time that we got to throw a family-friendly Halloween party. In the past, it was just always about like that classic adults-only Halloween rager, to be honest. And this moving out here, I really wanted to start throwing more of like that community Halloween party where, it's still at night, it's still for the adults, but it's also for the kiddos too. And I've always just, ever since I was a kid, I've just every cool Halloween movie where you can see these big Halloween parties that they're throwing where grown-ups and kids are there, and there's all these snacks and games and decorations and everyone's dressed up. It's just something I've always held to be so, so special. And to get to throw our first of many that we'll have out here, and for Blair to get to be a part of it now was just like, seriously the coolest, like one of the coolest full circle moments ever. And such a testament to the amazing community that we're really building for ourselves and really taking part of out here in our new home. So it's really just an extra special one for me this year. Now, my friend, I want you to make sure that you give yourself some time to also pull from your reflections. What are you grateful for? What are you taking from this past October and other past Octobers maybe as well, and bringing with you into November 2025 and beyond? What are you leaving behind that is no longer serving you, that you just simply don't need anymore? And what gives you strength and fortification and support that's going to be right alongside you or right in your pocket as you move forward? If you need to pause this episode, again, to give yourself some time and space to really do some true gratitude work with yourself, please feel free. I will be right here waiting for you when you get back. And when we do, we will pull a little oracle card together and close out October with one another. We are, of course, as is tradition, on our last moon day of the month, pulling from the Work Your Light Oracle deck by Rebecca Campbell. The artwork of this deck is by the lovely Danielle Noel. This deck is just quintessential reflection and gratitude vibes. This is why it's tradition to use this deck on this particular episode. Now, as I shuffle, I want you to take some intentional moments here. Take some breaths, refresh your energy in and around yourself. You can roll out your shoulders, your wrists, your ankles, squeeze or wiggle your fingers or toes. If you want to close your eyes and really sink into the moment, you can. And whenever you're ready, you can even pause this episode if you really want to elongate that beautiful grounding and centering process. And then whenever you're ready, I want you to open yourself up to any insight, any guidance, any messages that you may be needing or seeking at this time, my friend. Ooh, just in time for Halloween. We pulled the Akasha card. It says your guidance, your guidance is divinely guided. So beautiful and mysterious and magical, heading into kind of the great beyond in many, many ways. Now, I love this because it looks in a lot of ways like we could be traveling into the veil here, which again is just so Samhain, so Halloween. So the reading from the guidebook for the Akasha card is as follows. Akasha exists in the fifth dimension and the library of souls. All soul contracts, history, gifts, lessons, and more exist here. We each have access to this information of the past, present, and future, and can tap into it at any time. While we have free will, there are also points on the timeline of our lives that are predestined or pre-planned, soul contracts or agreements that were made before incarnating. It could be a company you chose to work for, a relationship you planned to have, or a person you agreed to mentor or help. Whatever it is, know that it is divinely guided and will not bypass you. If you are waiting for a sign to proceed, this card is it. You are likely living out an important part of your soul's journey, and you are exactly where you need to be. This is very exciting indeed. It is time to call in the support of your helpers, both in the physical realm and the spirit world. To trust the signs coming, to take note of your dreams, to notice any feelings or visions that you receive, for you are tapping into the wisdom of the Akasha, and you are being given the go-ahead to proceed. Hold the card, visualize it, and say, I open myself up to receive the wisdom of the Akasha. I am ready to download any information from my soul records that is in my highest good and the highest good of all right now. Thank you, thank you, thank you. How special is that? Oh my God, I love it. So, not surprisingly, divinely timed. Really, really perfect for this last magical moon day of October as we all step into this thin, thin veil time of year with one another. Thank you, neighbor, for spending your time with me today and every day. It means the absolute world to me, truly. I can't wait to see you this week for our episode on That Witch podcast. It is a very cool and very special one that my heart is very, very excited to share with all of you. And until I get to see you then, my friend, make sure, of course, that you're out there staying safe. You're letting yourself have some fun. And of course, stay magical out there. What is That Witch School? That Witch School is my magical monthly membership that combines safe, welcoming, nurturing community with quality, ethical witchcraft and astrology education. This is like Patreon meets social media, but better. We have monthly calls hosted and guided by myself, as well as multiple instructors within our school. An incredibly beautiful and supportive community of like-minded witches, all built from the neighbors within our neighborhood right here. Plus, there is a just astounding library of resources and content that is always growing, and so much more. You can go back and listen to my episode on the podcast called Welcome to That Witch School 2025 for all kinds of details and information on the membership, the different plans you can subscribe for, pricing, and frequently asked questions, everything that you need to know. Or you can always send me a direct message or email if you ever have any questions. You can get my contact information in the show notes below. And when you're ready to join us, you can go to thatwitchschool.com and find the plan that works for you and join our magical community today.